Hey Jeff, thanks for joining me.
Hey Steve, thanks for having me again.
Hey, we are talking about a trend that we've actually been covering a bit here, and that's the move to the suburbs, move away from urban cores. It's at this point, there's enough data in there to start labeling it a dramatic shift. It's certainly one that we noticed pretty early on, and it's having some impacts. Employees are looking to buy suburban houses, places with maybe that office that they can work from home from on some days, as they do maybe more of a hybrid work model. It's certainly impacted the office sector with the suburbs looking better than urban core offices. And we've also seen it impacting retail, and we've talked about this with a lot of the more kind of the strip mall stuff that a lot of people weren't so excited about a while back is now very much in vogue as people want to be able to shop, even if they go online, maybe have a place they can pick stuff up or sometimes feel it that's close to home. Um, some of your thoughts as we're starting to see more of the numbers substantiate what we've been talking about for a while in this move to the suburbs.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it, it really just revolves around to kind of your point, maybe to focus it and surmise it is really just quality of life, right? Like people want, they don't want to be in the urban core where they're dealing with traffic, dealing with tons of people all the time. They're looking for that house that will allow them the picket fence, the white picket fence, the dog, and two and a half kids or whatever it is. So and then, with the revolution of online shopping, with the, or, and I almost want to say evolution because, it's not going to kill retail, it's going to change it. To your point, maybe they become more localized strip malls. But, I think in reality, even on the side of, working, some of those people have moved out to the suburbs and, it was a positive because they wanted to be in the office for a couple of days. And as workers start returning more to work, maybe there's a shift that, moves people back in. I don't know. I think it's something that's going to be interesting to follow. And I think you probably are going to see more of a trend, or maybe a sustained trend of people wanting to be in the suburb where their life can be a little slower. They can still have the same, same quality of goods that they had when they were urban cores, but it's just a different way of life.
Yeah, and I think there's a few trends here, and they're durable. One trend is the millennials, pretty big generations. They kind of moved in that family formation stage, and
Yeah.
this is just how it goes when you're young. It's kind of cool to be in the city center and be able to go to cool bars, cool restaurants, cool clubs, and you get older, you start a family, and you start, that all of a sudden that shoebox of an apartment you're living in. Um, it starts being an issue if you want to raise a family. So it's, I think, just demographically, this was a change that you would kind of expect. But you have a few things that exasperating it too. I think the move to hybrid work, well, the commute penalty is not so bad when you're not commuting as much.
Mhm.
And that's a lifestyle penalty. Be sitting in a car or a train or whatever. It's also a dollar penalty in terms of what you're paying. And if you're not doing it much, all of a sudden the math, emotional and economic math gets better for the suburbs. And then on top of that, we've seen some urban cores just embrace some, really kind of not great social policies. And there's downtowns that 10 years ago were safer when they were cleaner. And so they're
Not
less
naming
attractive.
names.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I'm in Silicon Valley, so San Francisco is a pretty good example of how not to run your downtown and the real estate suffering. But Chicago, Portland, LA, there's plenty of places you can, I'd say even, New York, people would, it's not, whether you loved him or hated him. I've talked to people who were around during the Giuliani era, and it was cleaner and it was safer.
Right.
If you wanted to smoke a little pot in a park or something like that, maybe you hated Giuliani. But if you wanted to walk around without having to worry about getting mugged, maybe you liked them.
Yeah.
Either way, it's we've got a lot of urban cores that just they're not as attractive as they used to be. Certainly some Exceptions to that, I mean, you're pretty close to Miami, and that's one that's booming, but that's one that actually has, managed to engineer pretty good, social policies to still make it attractive. But I think when you add all of those up, the demographic shift, where you're more into family formation for a major generation, the work shift, where you're able to work from home more, and then you have some major urban cores kind of shooting themselves in the foot
Yep.
with urban. I think there's no reason to think all those trends aren't going to continue. Uh, so I think for us, yeah, if we see a great opportunity in a downtown, especially a downtown that we think is going more the Miami direction
Yep.
versus the SF direction, we'll take advantage of it. But if you had to just come to us and say, I'm not going to tell you which urban core or which suburb, but you just have to pick one based on that, we'd go suburb right now.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, look, the other side too is this isn't a new. I mean, this is a kind of a recycled trend. I'd almost say, like the car was one of the first evolutions that moved people to the suburbs, right? They took them out of the city centers, but there's a lot. Like there's shifts. There's the other side of costs of living, like you pointed out. But you mentioned Miami. Look, there's a lot of people that live in Miami, but with the commute that I make down there when I go down there quite a bit. To be perfectly honest with you, there's a lot of cars that are on the road, and there's an increased amount of cars that are on the road that are traveling from Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, to get down to Miami, and so I think there's different types of commute and different types of suburbs, and they all kind of impact each other and impact the different markets and areas. But yeah, I mean, look, I think it's something to follow, and I think to some degree, as time moves on, as these dynamic patterns or trends in real estate shift or maybe even shift back, you might see some people that shift more to the downtown cores again. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, well, like we said, I mean, Miami certainly benefits. Some urban cores have done well, and
Right.
and that kind of overlaps with some other trends, right? The move to the Sun Belt, which is an ongoing one, kind of overlaps with the move to the suburbs and the move out of some of these urban cores that aren't doing so well with their social policies into ones that are like, I know like, we like the kind of Carolinas area.
Yep.
We think that's good. Nashville's not hurting. Um, I think you take a look at Texas and you gotta be pretty positive on the long term for
Yeah.
that state as it builds out. Some of this is just, demographics matter. Do your research and if you've got an area and maybe it's an urban core that isn't business friendly in its policies, is losing population, is outbound migration. Um, Maybe take a pass on that investment and try to find out where they're going and buy
You
there.
mean you mean like Chicago, Detroit, Boston, New York, all of those places? And to be fair, even some of those places have some good investment opportunities, but you got to really understand and know what you're looking at and kind of understand what's happening in each one of those dynamic asset classes.
Yeah, I mean, to put it simply, it's usually better to swim with the tide than against it.
Right.
So, there certainly are still some opportunities and some good urban
Sure.
cores. There's certainly some bad suburbs. But there's definitely a tide flowing a little bit more towards the suburbs.
Yeah.
And so that's something, we'll probably be talking about for a while, but thanks for the insights, Jeff. Hey, let us know in the comments what you think we missed, what we got wrong, what we should talk about more. If you enjoyed the video, give us a thumbs up. Visit our website, selectfincap.com, and register for our free weekly newsletter, and to also get a look at exclusive commercial real estate investment opportunities that might be in the suburbs or a thriving urban core even. Thanks a lot, Jeff.
Thanks. Thanks, Steve.